Hi, everybody. It's James Pax from Kung Fu Legends by James Pax. This Friday, actually, I'm not interviewing another director or an actor. Instead, I'm actually being interviewed by a famous French press member who is actually currently living in Hong Kong. And his name is Arnaud. Okay, and you can see it on the other side of the frame. So it's actually going to be Arnaud interviewing me. So perhaps we can have Arnaud introducing himself first. Tell us about yourself, Arnaud, to our fans.
My name is Arnaud. I've been covering Hong Kong and Chinese cinema for more than 20 years now, being based in Hong Kong since 2012. I work with several publishers, magazine, DVD, done a lot of interviews, published a book in 2017 about cops and gangster films, Hong Kong cops and gangster films, and another one to come either this year or next year, which is a biography of Choi Ark. And so I also own the YouTube channel House of Asian Cinema, which does the same thing, covering Asian film in general. And it's a pleasure to be able to discuss Mr. James Pax's career, because it's a very interesting journey.
Well, you must be an expert in terms of Hong Kong cinemas. So actually, before all the interviews, they all ask me more on the Hollywood movies that I've done and TV series. You're the first one who is an expert about Hong Kong film. So today we definitely have to talk a lot more about Hong Kong movies that I've done and so on and so forth. Okay, so go ahead and place your first questions, and I'm ready to do it for you.
So I would like to know first how you got into the entertainment industry. I understand you were a model originally, right? And that's how you got into a film business.
Right. The way I got into it was, since I was a kid, I've always been a movie buff. Anything from Japanese samurai movie or the Bruce Lee or the Shaw Brothers movies, all those kicking and punching, and especially the nunchucks really inspired me. And since I was like 11 or 12, I was already taking karate lesson, taekwondo lesson, and then kung fu lesson, and then wushu. It's pretty much all the martial arts. I've covered it all before I was 18. And then since I was 16, besides of going to high school in New Jersey, Hightstown, I was already doing part-time modeling. And by college, I was doing kind of a semi-professional. After college, I was a professional model. So that's how I started. I was a professional model. And from being a professional model, done so many print and also for different brands. I felt that it's time for me to learn how to act. So I never really went to a professional, so-called a 4-year college program. Instead, I went to Lee Strasberg, which is a very famous school. And by the time I entered the Lee Strasberg, Mr. Strasberg was already very old. So pretty much my classes were carried on by Susan Strasberg, who was the daughter. And now she's still teaching. But I have to say that she really inspired me to be an actor, because, to tell the truth, when I was a nobody and I was just learning how to act, and she said, "Gee, it's very strange, James, that you get up there with 6 other people and my eyes always go to you, even though you don't do anything." I said, "Really?" I said, "Well, I'm just a beginner. I really don't know how to act." He said, "Well, you need to be an actor because you have something special that nobody else has." And that's what I see. Surely enough, after taking a few lessons, I began to do a play in Seattle. It's called the Intiman Theater. I think the theater was probably 400 to 500 seats only, on a play called Railroad and I, which was very famous, 2-character play. And it's pretty much about immigrants. Back in the 1800s, the first group of immigrants came from Guangdong and landed in the West Coast. And most of these Chinese immigrants were being brought to, Texas, Western area to build the railroad. That's why it's called Railroad and I. And this young man happened to be a railroad worker. On top of that, he's a Peking opera singer. So he actually has a dream to be a Peking opera singer one day. So besides of digging the tunnels every day, when he has time, he go into the forest by himself and doing the Peking opera. So I was able to utilize everything I know about wushu and kung fu, you know, because all the Peking opera move is very similar to wushu, you know, kicking the leg up and down, which I happen to do very well. And surely enough, after I did the 2 months, the play, supposed to be only 30 shows, 30 days. Instead, they ran for 1 more month because I was so good. I can't say just me. My other actor was also so good. We had rave reviews, and they extended 1 more month. Then as soon as I went back to New York, I sent my resume out, you know, and along with all the press reviews. And out of 30 envelopes I sent out, 2 or 3 responded, and one of them happened to be a super agent who handles, you probably know, Kevin Kline. Kevin Kline's very old now, of course, probably retired, but you know, Kevin Kline back in the 80s and 90s was a superstar. He was a stage actor too, because my agent was specialist in stage actor. He was representing Kevin Kline. And so he saw the review. He said, wow, that's an incredible acting there. Pick me up. Surely enough, within, I think, the first month, I landed 2 jobs. One was General Hospital. The other one was Big Trouble in Little China. So I asked my agent, which one do you think I should take? Because General Hospital was offering me almost like $200,000 a year, which was already a lot of money, of course. And my agent said, you got to take Big Trouble because you can be a feature film actor on the big screen. So I took his advice. I flew LA from New York to LA, and that's the rest of the story. Because of the Big Trouble, of course, although when it first opened in America, it didn't do too well because 20th Century Fox didn't believe in it. You know, they never put, I don't think they put more than 10,000 USD for the advertising. You know why? On the same week, another movie called Ghostbuster was coming out. And you know, Ghostbuster had 3 major stars, and we only have Kurt Russell, and everybody else was unknown, including myself. So they oh my God, Big Trouble is gonna be like, you know, be dumped aside. So we're not gonna put any money into it. And apparently, John Carpenter was very disappointed at what 20th Century Fox did. Soon after this movie, he retired. He said, I had enough of Hollywood. He retired, which was sad. But as you know, the movie did very well in Asia and also in Europe. And 10 years later, it became a cult movie.
Yeah, now it is a classic, yeah, for sure. And let's have a few questions about this film specifically. I was wondering if John Carpenter gave you any special instruction of references regarding your character, because you are part of these 3 elite fighters, and they are very much inspired from the second film of the Baby Cart series. I don't know if he asked you to watch it or give you any references like this.
Not really. My job was simple, to play the character Lightning, and pretty much the beginning scene, you know, of me being brought down from the ceiling, and as soon as passed, and I just start doing all the movement. He was just telling me, do something movement, imagining that you're going to shoot out your lightning because everything will be drawn after. So make sure that your movement is clean and clear. And that after we're drawing the lightning, you're going to look like a real lightning. I said, okay, fine. So I designed all my own. Yeah,
so you designed the whole thing. There was no choreographer on the set to help
you design. There was. Oh. Honestly, later I found out Yuen Wo-ping was there, but Yuen Wo-ping was too busy with everybody else. So he pretty much just said, 你搞掂自己啲嘢啊? I said, oh, 我搞掂啦. You know, I've done it already. You know, I never let anybody to choreograph me. I don't need anybody to choreograph me because I'm an expert in Kung Fu already. Or then say, 我搞掂. So everything I do, he just say, okay, shoot. That's all. But the most difficult scene, that scene was easy. and then the three people get together to do a front flip and all of that. That wasn't very difficult. The difficult scene was actually in the tunnel where I'm chasing after Caruso and two other people, and I was standing underneath kind of a ceiling. So John was saying that you're going to shoot out your lightning into 4 different corners. And after that, then you're going to shoot it to the front into the different wall so that we're going to join the lightning. It's like zigzagging kind of a thing. So I kind of tried out the 4 corners, and he said, okay, that looks good. Let's shoot it. So I had to do it like 4 or 5 times. And then as soon as I did that 4 corners, he said, you got to move forward because there's going to be a fireball from above that's going to collapse. So make sure you move out of the place. Otherwise, you're going to be hit by the fireball. And sure enough, as soon as I walked past it, I couldn't look back because I'm in the scene already. But I can hear this whole big wooden thing just go, oh boy, I was so real. I said, if I did not step out of that, I would be dead by then. So that was the fun part, actually, I have to say. And when you do it, you can only imagine, but when it's all drawn in, even today I looked at the scene, I said, my God, can you imagine back then, 35 years ago, there was no CGI, everything has to be hand drawn in. And how good was the painter who painted it? I say it's better than any of the CGI today because it looks so real.
Yeah, it looks so real and it has some kind of personality of its own at the same time. And in this film, one of your co-stars is actually Carter Wong, who was a big Kung Fu star from the 70s. So how was it working with him?
Carter was a fine guy, fine gentleman, and he's more like a karate guy. If you see his fist, his knuckles all swollen up 3 times bigger than mine. He's a fun guy to work with. So we had a good time. All I have to say is we all had a good time, me and Peter and Carter. And then after the movie is done, then we had a big premiere. I'm not quite sure. I think the premiere was at the Chinese, back then they call it the Man Theater. The Chinese Beautiful Man Theater. Now they call it TCL Theater, not because TCL owns it now. And I think that's where we had the screening, which was really an experience because I never seen myself on such a big screen before. That was my first, that was my second feature movie. The first one was actually Year of the Dragon.
By Michael
That was like a year before, even earlier than this one. But that one I was playing a killer, killing Mickey Rourke, who was playing the detective's wife. I was kind of the underling of Zhang Long's character, who is a mafia boss. You probably know that movie.
Yes.
Yeah, but this one was much bigger and I had a bigger part. So seeing myself, coming down from the ceiling and all of that, I was like, man, finally I'm on Hollywood Boulevard making big feature movie. James, you did it. Lo and behold, of course, nothing is easy.
Yeah, no, of course. And let me play a bit the devil's advocate on this one, because of course the film is great and it's a cult classic. But I was always wondering a bit, it's basically a mix of a lot of different Asian culture which are amalgamated. There is some Japanese influence, Chinese influence, and I would say also the American angle about Asian culture, with the main bad guy being very much like Fu Manchu, which is like actually an invention from the US and arguably a bit racist one. So I was wondering, as an Asian American yourself, how did you look at this kind of blend of Asian influences?
First of all, my first reaction was John was a genius. For a Caucasian director who probably never even stepped into Hong Kong or China can come up with a concept like this and produce a movie like this, to me, it's already a genius. I know back then there were a lot of people saying, oh, it's a little racist here, a little racist there. I said, no, it is merely a comedy. Don't take it so seriously. I mean, there's some lines sound like degrading the Chinese community, but I said it's comedy. It's treated like a comedy, and it should be a comedy, because if you look at the movie today, which movie, that you don't see a lot of blood, and a lot of blood flowing out from the knife, or a lot of blood after you fire somebody. 9 out of 10 kung fu action movie, you see blood. But do you see any blood in this movie? Not one drop.
It's more like a cartoon.
Exactly. It's a full of action movie with no, what I call it, no violence. No violence. So there's absolutely no bad influence to any children or whatever. That's the beauty of this movie. So all that, lines that might sound racist, I really don't think it should be taken that way. It is just purely comedy. That's all.
Okay. And so you worked a bit in the US during the 1980s, and then you moved to Hong Kong. But just to finish on this American career of the 1980s, because you still worked after there. So how do you look back at the working opportunities in the film business for Asian Americans in the US during that time? From what I hear, that was not easy for Asian Americans to be able to get into the film business and to get some interesting parts. Do you confirm?
Back in the 80s and 90s was very difficult. I think besides me, there were another 30 to 40 actors, Asian actors, around the same age as me, that we were all fighting for the same part. That's what happened back then. Definitely wasn't difficult, but I was lucky because I'm a dramatic actor. On top of that, I can fight. So I do get more chances to get more parts, not just acting part, but also fighting part, playing an assassin, also playing a doctor trying to save a G.I. Joe's life, if you saw other work that I've done. And that's what separates me from most of the other Asian actors. Yeah, I happen to be, how should I say, have more capacity to play different parts, I would say. So I was lucky. Yeah, I was very lucky. But if you compare it to now, look at now. Every series and every action movie, there's got to be an Asian lady or an Asian actor. So I'm happy that right now, the Asian actors and Asian movie makers are being promoted and being looked after and being respected a lot more than 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. It's a positive evolution.
Yes.
And so you made the move to Hong Kong in the mid-80s. So what brought you there? What decided you to go there to try your chance?
Very simple. I'm never a satisfied person. After I've done what I've done, playing second banana to Chuck Norris. Well, Chuck Norris won this Invasion USA. I was just one of the terrorists. And then playing with Kinjite with Charles Bronson, I was the second banana, which was quite good. And then I played in 88, I did the movie with Donald Sutherland, a movie that not many people have seen because it was just an art film. Bethune, yeah. And unfortunately, the director died also soon after. I felt that it's time I move on from Hollywood. I was a little frustrated. You know why? I never thought of myself as an Asian guy. I always thought of myself as a mixed. No, a mixed. My dad is English, my mother is Chinese, but I look more Asian, that's all. And I was always telling myself, why am I only going to audition for Asian? Why can't I be just another guy next door kind of a part? Why can't they let me try, the good parts that other people, that I could have done, that kind of thing. So I was frustrated. I talked to my agent. My agent is like, get out of here. That kind of attitude. I changed my agent soon after the big trouble because I didn't think that she was really working for me. Unfortunately, my first agent in New York was very good, but although it's the same agency, when you move to another city, I'm handled by a different team of people. They didn't believe in me. I mean, they know I do well. And they think that I should be happy with that. No, I'm not happy with that. Why should I be happy with that when I have so much ability, right? So they wouldn't listen, so I changed agent. But before that, I was already in Hong Kong, basically. Because I was already getting offered, especially after the Big Trouble. A lot of people know me already. So, and you know, back then, back in the 80s, 90s, Hong Kong movie industry was like booming like hell, especially 80s. So I already, a couple of directors already calling me up, say, hey, you want to come back and do this movie, do that movie? I said, sure, why not? So I just went. And surely enough, the first one was back in the late 80s, I think. Yeah. And that was by, I cannot remember the director's name, but he was a very nice man. He invited me to do this movie with I can't even remember the name.
With Alex Mann, Man Chilong.
Yeah, Mr. Mann.
That's Lee Wyman, Raymond Lee.
Exactly.
The film is called Set Me Free in English.
You did your research, sir.
Yeah, of course.
That movie actually was quite good.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we were the first Hong Kong production that was able to launch into Guangzhou and shot a lot of scenes, including the boat scene by the pier, was all shot in Guangzhou. We were the first group ever from Hong Kong was allowed to go in. So that was totally real, you know, shooting in Guangzhou and everything was very nicely set up. I have to congratulate Mr. Mann. He did a great job and the story was so genuine anyway, because back then there were a lot of these, they call it, what do they call it?
Immigrants.
Immigrants, yeah, they have a special name for it. The immigrants that came to Hong Kong, rob all the banks, and go right back the same day. That kind of thing.
The big circle gangs.
They all take the boat, you know, and then they come in, and then they rob the bank or kill somebody, and then boom, the next day they go back. So then they are never caught, and that's what the story is about. But more than that, of course, the story is more about their family and the love for, you know, their wife or their sisters or their lovers that's living in Hong Kong. And that's why the story is actually quite moving. And the other actor, what's his name?
Alex Mann?
No, the other actor. Famous actor.
You had one, Man Chilong.
Man Chilong. Yeah. Man Chilong is a fabulous actor. So him and I really sparked when we were doing the scenes, especially the scene on the boat at night, you know, talking about family and all of that. Yeah, you know, that's what acting is about. You got to be acting with great actors, and that you're gonna, all of a sudden, the magic is gonna spark.
Right.
And Man Chilong was terrific. You know, I enjoyed working with him. And he's a crazy guy, of course. I won't talk about the crazy things that we did, you know, back at the hotel and all of that.
Too bad. Maybe
he was a crazy guy. A lot of fun. Yes. Yes, I was brought along to have all the funs and all of that in the club and all of that, but we won't go into that.
Yeah. And that was indeed the best time for Hong Kong in many aspects, including the nightlife.
But one of the great things about that movie, if some of the audience happen to rent the DVD and see it, that all the scenes shot in Causeway Bay of me and another guy, I can't remember him now, that we were robbing the jewelry store. I can tell you, it was all so real because the police was not informed that we're going to shoot it there. They say, we're going to make this so bloody real. You just go in there and rob the store and start firing the gun, okay? And then we're going to just spread out. And before the police ever come and arrest you. So whatever you say, you know, Mr. Mann, I do what you say as long as you get me out of the jail when I get arrested. So that's what happened.
Hong Kong style of filmmaking.
Exactly. You know, they can't afford to set everything up, stop the traffic because they want to use the traffic as a real traffic. So we just start shooting in the store, banging and all the glasses, and then take the thing. And we just start running. All I can see was camera is not far from me, and he just following everything. But all the crowds thought it was so real. People went down like this. And we were just going from street to street, trying to get away from the scene. And right after we were hearing the police siren going, wow, wow, wow. By then we were already gone. And we were already having coffee, 奶茶in the coffee shop because that was already set up. Say, you come to this 奶茶so that nobody's going to arrest you. That's what Hong Kong movie making is about. It's so real and it's exciting.
Right. So obviously you only did one take for this one, right?
One take only. They won't have any time to go back for another take.
And interestingly enough, while Hong Kong films are known for action and martial arts, most, if not all, the parts you did in Hong Kong were actually dramatic parts. You didn't get to show off your martial arts skills. So were you a bit disappointed by that?
Not really. Like I said, my idol is Marlon Brando. In the Kung Fu side, my idol is Bruce Lee. So for me, as an actor, my goal is to be as good as Marlon Brando. In Kung Fu, my goal is to match maybe 70 to 80% of what Bruce Lee can do. But I never really got the chance to do what I could do actually in any of these films because the part is not so big, that kind of thing. But as an actor, I felt that I did everything I could for the part that was given to me. So I truly enjoy being a dramatic actor because I really feel, being an actor, you gotta be able to really soak up the part and really play the part. And that's what I try to do, to really immerse in the part because that's what was taught to me by my teacher, by Susan, and by other teachers I've studied with in that thing.
So to continue a bit on Set Me Free, so your character is supposed to be from the mainland and he has suffered from the Cultural Revolution, so he has trauma and stuff. So was it difficult for you to get into this kind of experience? Because obviously being in the US, that's the kind of background which you may not have been very familiar with. So what did you do in order to get into the character about this kind of experience?
Which movie are we talking about?
Set Me Free.
Oh, Set Me Free. Oh, yeah. Honestly, being Chinese, that was the first time I went into China. I usually do my research. So I read a lot about these people that are, they call it 大圈仔. That's how they call it in Chinese now, in Cantonese, I remember. So I read a lot about it. And so I can just imagine myself, how desperate this type of men can be to survive, to rob and to make money so that he can give it to his sister. I think it was about the sister, that kind of a love for the sister. I think, yeah, his sister played by another famous Hong Kong actress. She was like pregnant and then she was mistreated by her husband. And I was trying to...
Ellen Kam.
Yeah, very famous actress. And she's actress too, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I cannot remember her name, but that's what I did. I always do a lot of research and imagine myself if you are desperate, and knowing that you are a nobody and trying to survive, what would you do? That kind of thing. And so that's what I did. And I think it looked pretty good because back then, we didn't get to eat as good. So I was kind of very skinny. I had a very skinny face. So I looked like a 大圈仔, and the way they dressed me and my hair, just let it go as it is. I think I really played the part quite well. Honestly, after years, I saw it again. I say, yeah, that looks like a 大圈仔.
It's done. So just two more questions to finish on Set Me Free, so your first Hong Kong film production.
Okay. Sure.
So you said it was actually one of the very first Hong Kong film being shot in the Guangzhou area. So how was it shooting in mainland back then? I understand it was pretty rough.
No, actually, we didn't have any problem at all. I mean, the police was very cooperative. I think because we were the first group shooting in China, so they really welcomed us with open arms. Absolutely.
Okay, oh, well, surprising. And the film was actually produced by a man named Jim Choi. And he has the reputation of being
yes.
a really
Yeah, you want to bring him up? Yeah, he got killed. His brother got killed after. That's what I understand. Yeah, I went to their studio. I have to say that, they're supposed to be super rich, and they're from Amsterdam, I think. And I went to their studio, and all I see is 3 Lamborghini all lined up in their garage. I said, boy, where did they get their money? These people are less than 40 years old. Both very skinny. But anyway, I don't want to mention too much about it, but I know that his brother got killed, and then he just fled. He never appeared again in Hong Kong. That's what happened.
Okay.
But you got to understand that back in the 80s, 9 out of 10 movie companies are mafia related. Who else there? I think the audience know better than me, so I don't want to mention it. That's just the way it is in Hong Kong. I mean, all the stories that you hear about how they ask Liu Dehua, Lau Dehua, all these movie stars to do their movie. So that Lau Dehua has like 3 sets, morning, noon, and evening. He probably only get 5 hours of sleep, probably just sleep in his car, that kind of thing. And how can these mafias get the superstars to go to their set and shoot their movie? Well, that's another story. I think for another time, if we decided to reveal these secrets to the international audience, but not this time.
But as far as you were concerned, you never had to suffer from this kind of bad influence. I mean, they always.
Oh well, there definitely was some
friction.
A little friction there, with one of the staff. He was trying to threaten me because almost finishing the film, I was already getting offers, and they heard it. They were not very happy. They said, "We are the one that brought you to Hong Kong, and you should be just working with us." I said, "Well, I didn't sign an exclusive contract, and I'm finishing this one. Yes, thank you, inviting me and all of that. But if you're ready to offer me another one, go ahead, offer me. And if you cannot offer me, don't try to stop me from working with someone else, right? I mean, I don't have a exclusive management contract by you. I had a working contract. I'm a very tough guy. You know why? My uncle in New York was a, Italian mob. I called him my uncle because back then I was just 20-something. They were already 50 and 60. They said, in New York, you don't ever worry about anybody that's going to bother you or your mom. You just tell them my name and nobody would dare to bother you. As simple as that, And on top of that, I know Kung Fu and all of that. And I was young and ignorant. I know they are mafias, but you know what? In my life, I never afraid of anybody. The way I see it is, if I'm meant to die or I'm meant to take a knife wound, I will take it. So what? Okay? If it's meant to die, I will die. If I don't meant to die, maybe you are going to be dying. That's the way I see it. So I don't take any threats from anybody. And I have a very bad temper. And I show my temper right there. I am very famous for bad temper. I don't even want to tell you what happened in China. Many things happen, but I don't go get into that. I don't want to talk about happy things.
Sure.
But I have to say, in Hong Kong, everybody was very good, very professional. The only problem I had was that incident, and then another incident. I didn't get paid for one of the movie, and then I found out that the company went bankrupt, and they apologized. So what am I going to do? I said, fine. If it's really bankrupt, it's bankrupt. You don't have money to pay me, it's fine. That's it. That was the only two really bad instances, and others I don't want to mention. But pretty much, I have to say, it was a learning lesson for me. My journey in Hong Kong was definitely a learning lesson, working with some of these great directors, which we're going to be talking, of course. Go ahead.
Yeah. So another great director you worked with, it's Johnny To, because you were the cursed scientific lover of Michelle Yeoh in Heroic Trio. And Johnny To, especially back then, he had a reputation of being a tough director, always scolding, cursing. So no, that was not the case when he came to you.
He has a bad temper, just like myself. Right. That was my second time going back to Hong Kong. I had the pleasure of meeting up with Michelle Yeoh in a dinner party, and I think it is because her and I were not from Hong Kong. She was from Malaysia, went to study dance in UK, and I was studying in New York. And we had a lot of things in common because I was also a dancer before. You know, besides of being a karate guy and kung fu guy, I was a ballet dancer and a jazz dancer. So we had a lot to talk about. And we became fast friends. And then she was very kind. She said, you know what? I'm doing this movie right now with Johnny To, and there's a part of a scientist, which is my love interest. You could be right for. So then she introduced me to Johnny, and Johnny immediately knew who I am, you know, and invited me to do the movie. So yes, Johnny has a very bad temper, I have to say. We were fine, but you know, there was a little instance here and there, which passed already. But I do want to mention, you know, acting. I feel that it should be freedom expression of the actor. But Johnny is more of a director. He will teach you how to act. Mm-hmm. It was basically a different way of acting style. I think he likes to tell actors what to do, but I'm more of an actor that like to do my own thing. So he said, you have to go stop. I said, why does the person always have to go stop? He could be just, hey, stop, would you? You know, I probably have a different expression. I cannot remember, but he got very angry. So I said, okay, you want me to go like this? I go like this. And that was a little friction there, but after that, I understand that's what he is, so I just do what he tells me to. You know? Right. It's all a matter of getting used to a different way of with different directors. I mean, when I was acting in American movies, nobody ever tell me that you have to point this, you have to point that. They just tell you, this is what I want, and do what you think is the best. And usually, you know, like John Carpenter, he says, shoot up 4 corners, show me what you're going to do. And he said, okay, fine, let's shoot. It's that kind of thing. But Johnny was very specific. Stop! And just have to point it the same way he does. So I did that. Basically.
And the sets were quite amazing for Hong Kong film production. I mean, it was a mix of art deco, futuristic, science fiction aspects. So was it fun for you to go on the set and see all the things that they had came up with?
That's a big budget movie. Usual budget movie in Hong Kong is about 8 million to 10 million, which is already a lot of money, you know. But that movie was 3,000萬, that's 5 million USD, you know, of the money today. But back then, 3,000 萬is a huge production cost. And it was invested by property company and all of that. They had all the money. So they were able to build all these beautiful big sets and all that. I truly enjoyed it. I think, and the girls were flying in the air. It was all with wiring, you know. And I was there seeing how they were doing it. It was quite amazing, I must say. With a big caterpillar pulling these girls, and then caterpillar was swinging them forward. Quite amazing, you know, when you haven't done anything related to that. The experience I had was just me, you know, up and down the ceiling, but this was different. A real caterpillar right there, and taking the 3 girls at the same time. Extravagant, I have to say. And definitely Hong Kong filmmakers, when it comes to action, they have their own way of doing things, and they're definitely the expert. And even in Matrix, you can see Yuen Peng. He designed all that wiring, make it look so bloody real. My favorite action movie out of Hollywood, none other than Matrix. Boom. Done by Yuen Peng. I have great respect for this man. He did a lot of good. Besides Bruce Lee, the second man is Yuen Peng. That's it, in my opinion.
And one of the master of wire work in Hong Kong is actually Ching Siu-tung, who was the co-director on Heroic Trio. So did you get to work with him as well? Because you didn't do much action in the film, so not really.
No, because I didn't do any action. I just stand there and watch how he does it. Yeah, I mean, he knows what he's doing. Yes, with those wiring and all. He definitely is very good with the wiring. He also did the wiring for Hero, the movie in China.
Yes.
Yeah, he definitely knows what he's doing.
Do you remember if you shot more than what ended up in the film, or it's basically what you did and that they really used like all the material?
Yeah, all. Yeah. Everything I shot, it was edited into the movie. Nothing was taken out.
No waste.
Nothing wasted. Yeah, nothing is wasted.
Let's move to the next one, and that's Dragon Conicals, directed once again by Andy Chin. I guess you got into this film because you had worked with him on Love Among the Triads, right?
Probably. Yeah. Yes. This was again, produced by one of the triads.
Yeah, once again.
Company. Once again, company. And this one was a production. The ladies were famous. Zhang Manyou and Gong Li from China.
Yeah, Gong Li, Lam Qingha, and Cheng Man. There was no.
That's right.
Yeah, Cheng Man.
That's right. Zhang Man. Yeah. My acting was mostly with
mostly
you
were working with Cheng Man. Right.
Exactly. It was fun. She is a fine actress. I heard that she came from China, but she was amazingly good actress, I have to say. Yes.
Do you remember how long this production took to shoot?
Well, it was a long shoot, but my part was kind of in and out kind of thing. And if you want to hear about the interesting thing, I almost dropped out of the movie.
Oh.
Many years passed, but I will tell you the story.
Sure.
Who cares, right? But these are the real story and why I had to drop out. And all related to the way these mafia company do things. Well, apparently I was at one stage signed to this production house. I don't want to mention their name, but everybody knows. And I was thinking that, well, since they're so bloody powerful, they should be able to take good care of me. So the first movie they offered me was to do this part. I accepted it. Wasn't a lot of money, honestly. And they were supposed to pay me first amount, second amount, third. After I was down into it for 2 weeks, I didn't see any money. Their excuse was, oh, you know what, we are having some trouble financially because I think one of the boss was in court for some ungodly accusation. I don't know what I cannot remember the reason, but they were all over the paper at that time. So they had some cash problem. So I said, excuse me, you're going to tell me that you cannot pay me for this little amount of money, and yet you hired all these big stars from Hong Kong and Gong Li, and you tell me that you didn't pay them? Next thing I know, I dropped out. They were not very happy because I just hate to be digged around. In life, I do not take any shit from anybody, whether it's in Hollywood, whether it's in Hong Kong, or whether it's in China, because that's just where I am. Because why? We're all trying to make a living, right? If you're given a job, you were promised to be paid so much, you should be paid. You don't expect actors to do something for you, and then you don't even pay them, and you give them all that bloody, no reason. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they were trying to do. That just showed me that you have no respect for me, and I have no respect for you, so I dropped out. So then they call my lawyer and say, oh, they want you to come back. You got to finish up the movie, So finally, I went back and finished up the rest of the few days, and that's it. After that, I left the company. I said, enough of this bullshit, please. All right? If you can't even pay my money on time, bloody hell, you're going to be my manager. So don't even bother, please. After that, I never want to work with them again. It wasn't a very great experience, but you couldn't tell from the way I act, right? I was acting really quite into the part because I'm a professional. Aside from this, I know what I'm doing, and it turned out really good. Her and I was very comical and all of that. I thought it was turned out very good scene. I only like 3 or 4 scenes or 5 scenes, I can't remember. but it turned out really good. I
Oh yeah, I would say a little bit more, maybe a 10 scenes, something like this.
Probably.
Yeah.
I cannot remember.
On what memory do you have of the director Andy Chin? He was kind of a commercial director.
He's a good director.
Success, yeah.
He was a good director, very young director, but he was good. Definitely, he was very good. I think back then, 8 out of 10 directors that I work with, they're all very good in their own way. I can't say any of the directors I work with, I was not happy with their vision or their art. I think they were all professional in their own way. Let's go on to another, please.
I just want to finish with one question on this one, because there is your ending scene, actually your dying scene. I don't know if you remember, you are hit by a crazy Lam Man Lung, who is the main star of the film, and you are really thrown into the air. And I have the impression that it is really you who got thrown into the air. Was it a stunt double, or were you really pulled by a wire? It actually looks pretty good. You don't remember?
Yeah, it wasn't me. I don't think I was the one getting. I guess it was probably a stunt double. It was way too dangerous for me to do it with that kind of money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can understand that. Okay, another one which I hope you have better memory of it. It's Remains of a Woman, which was an adaptation of a real murder case which happened in Hong Kong around that time. Yes. So I guess before working on the film, you were already aware of the real murder case, right?
Yeah, I'm aware of the case. Like I said, I always do research. I was amazed by the story and the case, and that's why I delved into it very easily, because I read a lot about it, and I was amazed by the story. So I said, yes, I will do this movie. The movie had a very good story behind it. The script was wonderful, and it was very small budget. I understand it was only $1 million Hong Kong dollar, which is very small. But I'm glad that it was nominated in Taiwan for, I think, for several awards. But Wu Jiali Ngalai, she won the first time as the best actor for the Golden Horse Award.
The film, I mean, it's the drug play an important part in the making of the murder and everything. So once again, did you do some research on that aspect of the effect on drug? I know that the scriptwriter Dennis Chan did quite a few research on that subject, so I guess you probably did some similar ones.
To me, I'm a very imaginative kind of an actor. I can just read the article and then I create my own part. I never really met the guy. I think I saw some interviews on him, but he's just a very kind of a downplaying kind of a guy. So the way I played him was also kind of, downplaying himself. But I don't believe that the character can be always downplaying. So at times he has his very dramatic side. He can be a lady killer. He can be sweet and soft, and pretending that I know nothing about this murder, because that's the way he has to act in order to be, to not to be in the end, after he was in jail, I think for like 2 or 3 years, then he was released. So all I can say is that I felt that I had to act like I know nothing about it. It has nothing to do with me. I'm an innocent. Right from the start, that's the way I played it. And I think it fit into the character quite well, actually. Yeah, it fit into the character quite well.
And how did you get along with your two main female partners, Carrie Ngalai and Loretta Lee Chen?
All three of them were fabulous. Fabulous actors. All of them were fabulous actors. I was very lucky to be acting with these fabulous Hong Kong actors. Yeah.
Looking back at it, actually, you got to work with the prettiest, I would say, and the most talented Hong Kong actresses back then. I mean, Chung Man, Michelle Yeoh, Loretta Lee. I mean, they were all like the top in the business at the time. That must have been quite pleasant, I guess.
I like new experience. Whether it's good or bad, it's all experience in life. You know why? I draw from my experience into acting. Now I'm a screenwriter into my screenwriting. So I don't regret of anything I have experienced, whether it's good or bad, because I use it in my script. Years after, I've been writing script for 20 years now. I tried to get one of them produced in China. It wasn't successful for some ungodly reason, which I don't want to mention. But now I'm back in Hollywood. You know why? 20 years later or 30 years later, now Hollywood is in need of Asian stories. And I'm actually very good with action. So I have my own project and I'm here, trying to make it. And all the script I write is drawing from my own personal experience and my knowledge about Chinese culture. And that's what I want to do. That's why I'm here in LA.
I will still ask you 2 more questions on Remains of a Woman. There is the director is Clarence Fock, and he tends to have a very visual style. He likes quick editing also. So how was it working with him for you?
I think his name is Fock Yu Leung.
Fock Yu Leung,
Chinese name. Yeah, if I'm not wrong. Young guy. I think he was also 30-something, and I was also 30-something. We got along great. He's a very, very creative director, I have to say. Fabulous director. I think that little movie with $1 million Hong Kong dollar, that's less than 100,000 USD. Was a fabulous work, I have to say. Fabulous movie. At the same time, another group made the same subject. That movie is not even 1/3 as good as ours.
Yeah, right.
That just tells you that creativity is everything. It's not about how big the production or how big the budget is. It's just wonderful actors getting together, director, and a nice script, and it turned out to be a great little movie. I'm very proud of it. It's one of the movies that I've done in Asia that I'm very proud of, is that one. Another one, actually, I don't know if you saw, it's called, it's a TV series. I did it for Asia TV. It's called 我和春天有个约会. I have a date with spring.
Yeah, a famous play which was later made into a film as well.
Exactly. It was a film, and then I did the TV version for Asia TV. But that TV series was very successful. It was sold all over Asia, and it was sold straight into China. Back in the early 90s, I am the first ever Chinese actor venture into China and promoted that picture. And back then I was a singer. I was singing, interviewing. I had a good time. And everybody knew me, not from Big Trouble, because Big Trouble was never shown in China, of course. And everybody knew me from what? From most of the Hong Kong movie, and especially from the TV series. All the young girls saw it. It was like tens of millions of young girls saw the movie, and they were so excited seeing me in front of them, talking to them. So I got a lot of fans, coming up to me and wanted to take a picture with me. So I was invited on a lot of TV shows for interviews, and I got to sing a little bit. So I had a good time, actually. So, but that production was very wonderful by a famous director, and the writing was superb. The acting was superb. Everybody, 4 girls, was so wonderfully made. That was another movie that I'm totally proud of till today. And I have so many fans from the movie still, all over Asia, absolutely.
And as you said, so Remains of a Woman was a very a small budget production. So I guess that means you had also a pretty short time to shoot it. And that also means that you probably did only 1 or 2 takes each time, right? You needed to get it done correctly almost on the spot.
There were a lot of short scenes and very powerful scenes between the actors. You probably recall there were scenes of struggling, lovemaking and all of that, but it was all very real, and it was done all very short with the most 3 takes only. But, when you're working with professional actors, we don't think about it. We just let it go. Boom, 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 boom. And everything just click, 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 click. And it turned out to be a magical movie. Why? I think it's totally because the actors were so good, and the cameraman was so good, and the director was right there. And he said, good, let's go, let's go, let's go. And just one after the other. We were like non-stop, always shooting. and then only a half-hour lunch break, you know, and then boom, 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 going back to acting. It's almost like a marathon working on that movie. It was a marathon. Every day we were hurrying. I think it was shot in 20 days, but everybody was working hard, and we were like a really gelled together team. And that's why it turned out to be a great movie, a little movie.
Big thanks to you. I don't know if you have a last word maybe you want to say.
Right. I just want to let the fans know, you know, you can find me Facebook, just James Pax, and then Instagram, James Pax _lightning. And I'm actually going to be at 2 of these Comic Cons coming up. September 16th to 18th, I'm going to be at the Midwest Monster Festival. It's at the Rust Belt, Illinois. And then on October 15th to 16th, I'm going to be at the Fayetteville Comic Con in North Carolina. But it's all going to be posted in my Facebook, and I also have a fan club called Lightning James Pax from Big Trouble in Little China. That's my fan club. So if you're interested, you can join my fan club, or you can get on the Instagram, you know, and find my information there. I post many things. I go to a lot of events, and I'm like a cameraman. My good old habits, I'm always with my camera, videotaping everything, taking pictures. And then my producer in Hong Kong and China will be editing it. Jenny is her name. She will put it together, and then we post it in our fan group and also on my Instagram.